Oversight Committee just released some more documents saying that Donald Trump paid for women. Check this out.
We're going to start with the big news roiling Washington. The House committee investigating the Jeffrey Epstein case releasing a trove of documents yesterday. That includes an explicit drawing and note signed Donald, allegedly sent to Epstein more than 2 decades ago as part of a so-called birthday book to celebrate Epstein's 50th birthday back in 2003. The message ends stating, quote, "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." President Trump has denied he wrote that letter.
But what do you mean by every day be a wonderful secret? What kind of secrets they got together? They've been, I'm saying, they've been buddies for 10 years. Then at the end, he talking about enigmas. What you mean by enigmas? The girls, what you talking about? And that is your signature, dog.
And has called it fake. The Wall Street Journal was, of course, the first to report the letter's existence, and President Trump has since sued the paper, its publishers, and 2 reporters. NBC News has not independently verified the Journal's reporting, and the Trump administration has said the signature does not match the president's. Following the release, the Journal published a piece comparing the signature on that birthday book letter to other uncontested Trump signatures.
They look like your damn signature to me. You know what I'm saying? You probably saying a little different now because you done got older. You know what I'm saying? As you get older, your signature just kind of change and shit. But Donald, that's your motherfucking signature. And why you just trying to hide up some little shit like that? Damn, that was like fucking 30 years ago. Why you hiding some little shit? This is a fucking birthday card. There ain't nothing big about this. So why the fuck you trying to hide and lie about it, huh?
Signatures. In response, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt posted on social media claiming that the Journal's own reporting proves Trump didn't sign the letter. Vice President J.D. Vance, meanwhile, called it a, quote, smear on Trump perpetuated by Democrats, referring to the letter as, quote, BS. The birthday book was by far the most revealing of the records made public from the subpoena that the Republican-led House Oversight Committee sent to Epstein's estate last month. The book was redacted to not show names and faces of women and minors, according to a cover letter sent from the Epstein estate attorneys to the committee. Lawyers, though, for that committee will go to New York later this week to see an unredacted version of many of these documents. But at the same time, a second entry in the Epstein birthday book released yesterday appears to mention Donald Trump as well. According to the Journal, the page reportedly compiled by a member at Mar-a-Lago who included a photo of Epstein and others holding up a giant fake check purportedly from Trump to Epstein for $22,500. The attached letter jokes that the check was payment for a deal in which Epstein sold Trump a, quote, fully depreciated woman in 2000.
Now, you see how they gonna do it? They gonna try and say that was a motherfucking goddamn joke. That wasn't no damn joke. Shit. Trump bought that woman. You know what I'm saying? They you know what I'm saying? He probably ain't bad. The woman they talking about right now. You know what I'm saying? This is probably, you know what I'm saying? But he been buying women, you know what I'm saying? They talking about depreciated value, you know what I'm saying? So it seems like, damn, I'm through with them, you know what I'm saying? I drove them the car off the lot, and you know what I'm saying? And once, you know what I'm saying, you just drive that car off the lot, you know what I'm saying, depreciating value. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going ahead and giving them to Trump. That's how he thought about women. And that's, you know what I'm saying, that's fucked up. And Trump was right along with it. He like, I better use car. I better use women. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? That's how they thought. And that's really fucked up how they think about women.
2003. And in response, House Republicans largely repeated the White House's criticism that this alleged Trump letter is fake and that the signature is not the president's.
They haven't dialed in on that. I'm told that it's fake.
From what I see, it's not a signature. I've seen Donald Trump sign a million things.
Yeah.
And that punk ass, boot-licking, Uncle Tom ass dude, I seen Trump sign 1,000 things. Motherfucker, man, Trump, you thought Trump was gonna give you some shit. You still out here bootlicking. Ain't got no position in the cabinet like you thought you was gonna get. You know what I'm saying? This dude he a freaking joke.
Well, I don't know. I mean, anybody can do a signature. We've seen the auto pen's been used quite a bit. with the Biden administration. So
You know
I've
that
never
man
known
saying
Trump to
that
be much
shit.
of an artist either. So I kind of draw that into question.
Meanwhile, the New York Times reports that JP Morgan Chase spent years supporting and profiting from Jeffrey Epstein while ignoring red flags, suspicious activity, and concerns from executives. The paper points out that Epstein was a JP Morgan customer who had more than $200 million in his accounts and generated millions of dollars in revenue for the bank. In addition, Epstein helped bankers network with clients and helped executives troubleshoot problems and strategize about global opportunities. But the Times reports that a growing group of employees expressed concern that JP Morgan's association with a man who had pleaded guilty to a sex crime and was under federal investigation for human trafficking could harm the bank's reputation. What's more, anti-money laundering specialists within the bank were aware of Epstein's pattern of withdrawing tens of thousands of dollars in cash virtually every month. But despite those red flags, the bank set up accounts for.
So this go even way further than all the just that. It goes to the freaking banks. They knew this man was doing this shit. It was in public. You know what I'm saying? It was in public. It was all done in public. They knew this man already had a charge way back in the days. And they was still giving him $10,000. What do you think he was doing with all that money? He was paying the damn girls off. Y'all knew that shit. And y'all still did it because he was, you know what I'm saying, have so much money in your fucking bank. And now you like, oh shit, we ain't had shit to do with that shit. You know what I'm saying? No, that was him. No, y'all had a big part to do with this shit. Because y'all would have told him, no, we ain't finna, no, man, what's going on? Why you need all this damn, what's going on? You stopped it. He would have had to find another way to do the shit. But it would have been a red flag. Let's go, y'all.
For Epstein, which he used to routinely transfer, quote, huge sums of money for young women who turned out to be victims of his sex trafficking operations. The paper bases their reporting on thousands of pages of internal bank records, sealed deposition transcripts, and other data, as well as interviews with people with direct knowledge of the Epstein relationship. A spokesperson for JP Morgan responded to the report by saying the bank's relationship with Epstein was, quote, a mistake, and in hindsight, we regret it, but we did not help him commit his heinous crimes.
There was not no fucking mistake. And at the time, you did not motherfucking regret it. And yes, you did help with his motherfucking heinous crimes.
Joining us now, MSNBC White House correspondent Laura Barron Lopez. Laura, let's just dig into the White House's response here, because this is the very letter that the Wall Street Journal initially reported on, that Trump launched a huge lawsuit after. And now the White House is saying, well, it wasn't his. What evidence are they even giving for that?
They're not really giving any evidence. It's essentially just denial, and saying that that isn't his signature, despite the fact that many people who have received letters from the president before he was president, whether it's George Conway, a lawyer who's frequently on MSNBC, posted a letter that he received from the president that has his signature. Many people have matched it, essentially saying that this looks like Donald Trump's signature.
I see, that's what I'm saying. He just signed a lot of shit back then, and all the people got to do is just bring up his signatures, and it's gonna match. And just saying, instead of him just saying, yeah, me and him were boys back then, and you know what I'm saying, yeah, I did send that motherfucking birthday card. He got to lie about the shit. So what else the fuck he lying about? What the fuck else is he lying about? Hey, y'all, take this moment out, hit the subscribe button. You know what I'm saying? Trying to grow this channel. So go and hit the subscribe button, you know what I'm saying? Get this channel growing, like, you know what I'm saying, everything, all the other good stuff. You know what? That shit free, man. Go ahead and do that. Go and hit that button. Let's check this shit out.
So despite the fact that we have now seen this with our own eyes because House Oversight Democrats released it, the White House continues to say that it's simply false and that letter is not the letter that we're seeing with our own eyes.
To me, watching House Democrats release this sort of answers a question that I've been asking members, which is, what does it mean for this committee if they get all of this information and then ultimately make a decision not to release it? Now we're seeing Ranking Member Robert Garcia bear out a more aggressive posture than we typically see from within these committees, where typically it's the majority party who's running the show a little bit. Now we just saw him immediately say, nope, we're going to get this letter. We're going to tweet it out there. Do you get the sense that the White House has a level of concern when they see that that's the posture from Democrats on the Hill and that this information is getting out there, however slow that trickle of information might be?
I think there definitely is concern inside the White House, despite the denials and despite them keeping this front-facing posture of saying that none of this is true, and the president himself calling it a hoax. But it's hard to present that.
How you gonna call it a hoax when you got victims? How you gonna call it a hoax when you got somebody in jail that went to trial about this shit? You know what I'm saying? How you gonna call it a hoax? You gonna just say all these 200 and so, over 200 and some victims are lying? Just made this shit up? You know what I'm saying? Actually, right now, the only shit you know what I'm saying in the files is that you and him was boys. It's nothing incriminating. So why the fuck is you trying to hide it? Release the fucking files. That's all you gotta do. Release the files.
Present that to the public, especially after the president and many around him convinced his own base that these files needed to be released, that there was something to see here, and that it was something that he and his DOJ and his FBI would do. And then they turned around and did a 180 and said, never mind, there's nothing to see here. We don't want to release these files. So this is something that has definitely roiled his base and a number of other voters who hear the victims and the survivors go out repeatedly now, week after week, sharing their stories, saying that this is something they have fought for a really long time.
What I've had Democratic members say to me when I ask about their continued focus on this is they say, this is not the crux of our message, but it is something that on the one hand seems to really irk the White House and the president. But on the other hand, also, Democrats hope it allows them to pierce the veil for MAGA supporters that just sort of regularly believe whatever the president says, regardless of how true or untrue it is.
I know as a Democratic Party, we be looking at, I mean, maybe this shit right here is gonna change some of the motherfucking MAGA minds and all that shit. But MAGA is MAGA. They a motherfucking coat. Real talk. This dude can do any goddamn thing. They're gonna make an excuse for him, and they're not gonna do shit. So I think y'all can probably, you know what I'm saying, go for the independents and, you know what I'm saying, the people we lost. But as far as the MAGA, the real MAGA, them motherfuckers ain't going nowhere. Them cold, they're gonna die with Donald Trump. Telling you.
It is. Do you think that there is, reality behind that? Do you think that this could pierce the veil for MAGA voters to make them at least question, is this not a president that is truthful all the time?
I think we're seeing that here and there when it comes to right-wing media and when it comes to figures that have been very loyal to the president. They are asking questions about why aren't these files released? Why is this something that the White House has gone back on, despite the fact that it was such a massive part of this last presidential campaign and something that those around him promised that they would do, whether it was Kash Patel, whether it was Pam Bondi. So I think that there is a little bit of truth to what Democrats think could be a strategy for them there. The other question is, a lot of Democratic base voters and people that Democrats are trying to win back just want to see their party fight. That's what you hear from voters when you talk to them. It's what you hear when you're talking to other younger Democrats that are running for office. So that could potentially be another way for them to galvanize their base, not just try to win over or try to pierce that loyalty from the MAGA base to them.
That's what I'm saying. We got to galvanize our base because you is not finna pierce MAGA. Them dudes, I'm telling you, it's not finna. They did the January 6th insurrection against the United States. They didn't give a fuck. So what the fuck you think they gonna give a fuck now for?
To Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think Democrats are just looking for any kind of an entry point to try to peel some of these voters away. They think that maybe some reluctance among MAGA voters can bring them at least some part of a new coalition. I'm not sure. covered Trump voters in the MAGA sphere for as long as I have, but nevertheless, that's the theory on the part of some of them. Ultimately, where do you think that this goes next? It does sound like the Oversight Committee is going to continue getting some tranches of documents from the Department of Justice. Not really clear what that timeline is, though I've asked.
Right.
And then at the same time, the Epstein estate released some new information to them, and they'll see redacted documents, at least at a staff level, in New York a little bit later this week, according to sources. But what do you think the White House does next to try to blunt this kind of stuff?
Well, there are ways that we know.
You know they're gonna send the truth to Chicago, Boston. They're gonna say Obama did this and Hillary did that and Biden was still ain't comprehending, and they're gonna make up a whole lot of shit just to try to throw us off this Epstein shit. Yo, we ain't gonna go, y'all. We not gonna go.
The president tries to sometimes distract if the headlines are focused on something that he's not necessarily happy with. Yeah. So we see that they are making moves into Chicago, into Boston right now, currently with ICE, but there are questions about whether or not National Guard could soon follow. So the president will at times try to distract when the media and when the public are focused on something that he doesn't want them to be focused on. And I think that'll be his strategy moving forward. When it comes to where this is headed, like you said, Allie, I think that we could very well see a steady trickle of documents potentially being released. Democrats are clearly not going to stop talking about this. And there are some Republicans that are not going to stop talking about this. So where does that discharge petition that Republican Thomas Massie is working with Democrats on, where does it go? They only need a little bit more in order to get it a vote on it.
Yeah, and I think that as we're counting.
All right, y'all. We're going to leave it right there. But as you see, this dude is trying everything to cover this shit up. Talking about it ain't his. He didn't sign that shit. He don't know nothing about it and all the rest of it. But at the same time, most shit coming out that he actually brought were paid for women from Epstein. So Epstein was coming to his club, and then he's so-called stealing women, and then he was buying women from Epstein. What type of shit is that? But nobody know nothing. Let's get into them financial books. Gotta be something there. All right, y'all. Till next time, like, subscribe, and all that good old stuff. Peace. See y'all later.